glad you could come in today. I'm sorry the circumstances aren't, better, but again, I'm glad you came in. Glad we can try and talk through this and hopefully sort it out for you. We spoke on the phone briefly about kind of the issue that, the event that took place on April 25th. Why don't you maybe start from the top, explain to me, as I understand, you're not from New Jersey,
Right.
so could you explain, maybe how you ended up in New Jersey and how you've met the Williams family?
Right. So in 2013, I came to New Jersey to play prep school hockey. I was 15 at the time, and the Williams came in to be my billet family. Now, a billet family hosts soccer or hockey players pretty frequently. They pay for my food and housing while I stay there.
Great. So there was a financial arrangement with this billet family.
Yeah, they had me pay $500 a month in rent.
Okay, great. So you're paying rent. How many people are in the Williams household
So
other than yourself?
there's the two parents, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, and then their son Timmy. Timmy was 2 when I moved in and turned 5 this year.
Great. So as far as the financial arrangement, so you pay $500 a month, and that was kind of it, and that covered everything.
Right. So the $500 was reduced for opportunities when I got to sort of babysit Timmy.
So you were working kind of as a full-time babysitter for the family?
No, I would look after Timmy when his parents were gone, if they went out on dates or if they were too busy to take him to practice or to school or to do that sort of thing. I would just sort of help out.
So you would just kind of describe it as a as-needed basis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So I guess maybe talk about your relationship with the family a little bit. I mean, I understand, obviously you had this financial arrangement and then they were kind of putting you up for your hockey, but how would you describe your interaction with the family?
The Williams really took me in. They were very friendly, and Timmy and I became very close. Timmy was only 2 when I moved in, so I got the opportunity to really watch him grow up. I think his parents appreciated the fact that Timmy and I bonded, and I think Timmy looked up to me.
Great. So let's discuss the events of April 25th, 2016. So from what we spoke on the phone, it sounded like the origination of the day was you taking Timmy to a birthday party. You want to maybe touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so this was a typical thing that I would do in my sort of babysitting of Timmy. His parents were busy. I think they might have been at work that day. And so I was taking Timmy to a birthday party over at a friend's house or at an apartment.
And do you have any idea of kind of the finer details of this party, what they were going to be doing?
So the plan was that I would drop Timmy off at the apartment. They were going to stay at the apartment for a little bit, and then the parents of the birthday boy were going to take them out to get pizza or to the movies or something like that.
Oh, so you were going to drop them off, and they were going to probably leave to another location.
Right, and then I would come back later and pick Timmy up.
Okay, great. So when you went and dropped him off, got him to the apartment building, what did you do after?
So dropped Timmy off, and there was a cafe that I like to go to that's about 10 minutes away. So I made that quick drive and just stopped for a cup of coffee.
How long were you going to stay at the cafe while you waited till the end of the birthday party?
Yeah, I was just gonna pick Timmy up at the end. I really had no timetable for it.
Okay, so I guess when you sat down at the cafe, how long were you kind of hanging out there before maybe you realized something was going on?
Right, so I had been there for less than 30 minutes. I just gotten there. I was just kind of settling in. And then on the news, I realized that there was live footage of a fire downtown.
And when you saw the footage of the fire, were you able to figure out quickly where the fire was? Did you recognize the building?
I immediately recognized the apartment building as the apartment that I had just dropped Timmy off to. The apartment building was distinct. It was a unique building for the setting that it was in. I definitely knew.
And you mentioned, I think you touched on this a little bit already. So, but you weren't aware when the birthday party was going to leave.
No, I knew that the party was leaving the apartment at some point, but I had no idea if Timmy had been there at the time or not.
So when you watched the news, you would categorize it as unsure if him and the birthday party were in the building still.
Yeah, you couldn't discern anything from the building itself other than the fact that it was entirely engulfed in flames, and there was some commentary that there were people screaming in the building.
And I think you maybe mentioned in the phone call that when you were watching the news, the sound wasn't necessarily on, so you weren't quite sure exactly maybe what was going on.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't describe if people had gotten out or if there was people
Yeah.
still in the building.
No, I mean, watching in a coffee shop like that, it's not right in front of me, so I couldn't exactly pick up what was going on, but clearly there was a tragedy occurring.
So you weren't sure if he was in the building, and what did you do when you kind of realized that, wow, Timmy may be in this building. I just dropped him off there. What did you do next?
So I was worried. So I called Timmy's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Williams, and they informed me that Timmy was at the hospital and that he had been in the apartment at that
So
time.
he was caught in the fire.
He was in the fire, yeah.
And so you, after you talked to the Williams, did you, where did you go? Did you go to the hospital or did you?
I went straight to the hospital. I couldn't think to go anywhere else. I took a straight line to the hospital. I didn't want to dare think about going to the apartment.
So you at no point really went by the actual scene of the fire or anything
No,
along
I
those
couldn't.
lines? So you couldn't tell if, you would have never been able to tell if people were still in the building or not. Okay, so when you went to the hospital, kind of, what did you find there?
And so I found Timmy there, and Timmy had been severely burnt, and he was involved in the fire at the apartment. They hadn't gotten out in time.
Okay, and so the Williams were there as well with you. I think you mentioned that they had managed to get to the hospital about the same time as you.
Yeah, we arrived pretty close together, and I sat next to Mr. and Mrs. Williams, next to Timmy, and
And I guess maybe describe how severe were the injuries?
Timmy was severely burnt. They said he sustained injuries to 90% of his body, although it was difficult to take in for me, and I stayed there with the Williams until Timmy passed.
And so ultimately, yeah, Timmy did pass away, and I guess, how did you feel at that? Obviously, it wasn't a good feeling, but
Yeah.
as someone who you babysit a little bit, how were you feeling at that moment?
I was very distraught. It was difficult to put into words, and really taking it all in was an experience that was highly emotional.
That is a true tragedy. I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for hearing my story. Hopefully we can have a case out of this.
Yeah, that
Get
would
this
be good. So I kind of smiled at the end.